Well, that was an interview and a half by Martin O'Neill. It's strange saying Martin O'Neill as Celtic manager, but that is what's happened this afternoon. It was interesting just to see Martin O'Neill up there, Martin O'Neill there with Sean Maloney sitting taking questions by the press. It was nice to hear Quinny's voice asking questions. And who was the youngest member of the audience? Martin O'Neill asking, is there anyone roughly around my age within the press these days? Having a little joke about his age, obviously. Martin O'Neill was asked about his long-term commitment to Celtic, and he said that, look, my first instance is just to take Celtic over this interim period. Sean Maloney was asked about his long-term ambitions for Celtic and the managerial role, and he said, he came straight out and he says, no, once this is done and dusted, I will be reverting back to my old role within Celtic Park. He has no ambitions, so stay safe, Celtic fans, relax. Sean Maloney does not see himself as a contender for the manager's job at Celtic. Now, Martin O'Neill was obviously brought back under weird circumstances. He said he laughed and joked about the interview that he gave on a certain radio station yesterday. It was aired on YouTube, and he said that he got the phone call from Dermot Desmond roughly about 24 hours ago, around about this time yesterday, and he was given 10 minutes to decide. Very Dermot Desmond-like. Very Dermot Desmond-like at all. Phoning up one of his old friends. He says that he hasn't spoke to Dermot for years, and we knew that it had Dermot written all over it. For Celtic to act so fast. Now, talking about the next manager, the odds have been slashed on Kieran McKenna to take the Celtic job next. The Northern Irishman, another Northern Irish coach, who likes to play a 4-2-3-1. He has a club at the moment. He's at Ipswich. He's roughly on the same wages that he would be on at Celtic, around about the 3 million mark. He was assistant manager at Manchester United. The system at Man United, he was a scout at Man United. He was the under-18s manager at Manchester United. Before that, he was the under-18s manager at Spurs. He was also a coach at Spurs. He was a coach at Vancouver. He was a technical assistant at Vancouver. And he was a youth coach at Leicester. Before that, he was a youth coach at Nottingham Forest. So he does have a good bit of experience with him. And I'm going to say that he's more than likely to be at the age range that Celtic are looking for with a manager. There is a lot pointing to the positives of taking... Now, I'm by no means saying that this is the guy to do the job, but it's his agents. It's the CAA Base Limited. Celtic have done a lot of business with the CAA Base Group before, and especially when it comes to players and stuff. They have done a lot of business with them in the past. So it'll be interesting to see if he is the next Celtic manager. Obviously talks will take place over the next couple of weeks. Brendan Rodgers, it's always the same when something short, sharp shock happens to you, isn't it? It's you're not ready, prepared for it. Ange Postecoglou has distanced himself from the job. Martin O'Neill has said that he is not here for the long term, he's here for the short term. It was interesting and funny to have a manager back in the hot seat itself. I loved the interview. I loved the interview with Martin O'Neill because it was relaxed, it was funny, it was back to old school, it was back to the type of Celtic manager we're used to. Do you know, Brendan Rodgers was getting far too negative and serious and just there was something wrong, we knew that. But Martin O'Neill, his style of being at these interviews, it was funny when he said, look, I've not seen Sean for the best part of 20 years. I took him down to Aston Villa with me, and he said he was homesick and he wanted to go back home to Celtic. I've never forgiven him for that. So there'll be an interesting conversation to be had after this interview. And that's the Martin O'Neill that we love. That's the Martin O'Neill that we loved having at Celtic. He's also a manager that is completely backed the players right from the off. He said, look, we've got a lot of good players, at the club. They maybe just need a little bit of motivation and a little bit of, pointing in the right direction to show them. It wasn't so long ago, Martin O'Neill said, that these players at the club run toe-to-toe with Bayern Munich. And they've kind of regressed since then. It's his job to just make things keep going as they were. Asked about any changes of formation, Martin O'Neill said, well, I'll need to talk to this guy. Talking about young Sean Maloney, as he called him. He said that it's great to have Sean with me. Obviously, I brought Sean through the system. And then they spoke about Fozzie, Fotheringham. He's like that. He says he's a fantastic. And he spoke about Mark Fotheringham's time at Celtic. He said if he had just an ounce of talent that he had when it comes to confidence, he had confidence oozing at him, but the talent just wasn't there. He will bring that confidence to the players. And Sean Maloney said it was great to have someone like Fozzie at the training this morning. And Sean Maloney was then asked about what it was like at training this morning. He said obviously it was a difficult period for the players. Came as a shock to the players. Came as a shock to Martin O'Neill yesterday. Things all kicked off lunchtime yesterday for Martin O'Neill, who got the phone call between lunchtime and 5 p.m, he said. So it would have been an interesting conversation that happened at Celtic Park that morning. But it was nice to have Martin O'Neill say that, look, he's full of confidence for these players. Asked about an incoming manager, he says, look, you might be looking for a new manager on Thursday morning if we don't win the game tomorrow night. And that's such a Martin O'Neill thing to say. Martin O'Neill talking to the Celtic media guys, and it was good to see good supporter of the channel, Quinny. It was good to hear his voice. It'll be interesting to see what he says about the interview. The interview was beamed live on YouTube by STV. There was a few interruptions where they quietened what was getting said for reasons unknown. But I think the positiveness that Martin O'Neill can bring, I think bringing in Sean Maloney on the short-term basis, knowing that he's going back to the position that he had at Celtic beforehand, knowing that he doesn't want to be part of the backroom staff, he doesn't want to be part of the playing staff and the backroom staff on an ongoing basis. He wants to go back to his work with bringing on the youth players and being the pathway manager. That's the reason that he came back to Celtic, was for the pathway manager's job. He has no intention of being involved within the management staff on a long-term basis. So that was good to hear by him. From him, it was just good to listen to Martin O'Neill again. He was asked about the situation on what happened at Celtic. He says he can't comment on that. He says, look, Celtic have been successful for a long time. Each time a manager steps in, they've done brilliant. Brendan done terrifically well both times at the football club. From that viewpoint, I don't know what's happened. There is a sense that, I'm not here to make a judgment on it. I'm here to work at the minute with Sean Maloney. So we'll try and work together and see what that brings. But winning is the most important thing. I say that. I say it often when I do punditry. He was asked about coming back to Celtic. He said that, punditry is an easy job. You can sit there and you can criticise everyone else bar yourself. He's now in the position where he's going to be criticised as the interim Celtic manager. He went on to say that it was sad to see the demise and the collapse in the relationship between Dermot Desmond and Brendan Rodgers. He says he doesn't know what's been going on. All he knows that was he got the phone call. He was walking down Queen's Road or whatever it was in London or wherever, and he said he got the call from Dermot. And he said he had 10 minutes to decide. A very Dermot Desmond thing to do. Give him 10 minutes to decide if he wanted to come back up the road and help Celtic out in their hour of need. And that's all it is at the moment. It is an hour of need for Celtic and the Celtic fan base. We're at a position where we never thought we would really see ourselves at. The Celtic fans are going to be demonstrating at the ground tomorrow from 7 o'clock. And I just hope that whoever comes in as the next Celtic manager, I hope that he gets the backing that he really needs. It'll be interesting to see what happens at boardroom level. The fact that there was no boardroom members around for the interview. If you remember when Neil Lennon was brought back to Celtic, you had Peter Lawwell sitting next to him. There was no board members today. That was very, very telling from this interview. When Neil Lennon was brought back, you had Peter Lawwell sitting there smug saying there was only ever one person we could bring back. The 9 was started by Neil Lennon. This is Peter Lawwell's exact words at the time. The 9 was started by Neil. And it's just fitting that the 9 is finished and completed by Neil Lennon. That was the words on the day that Neil Lennon was brought back by Celtic. Today, there are no one within the PLC, no one within boardroom level, which is something. Celtic have just announced that their AGM will be held at Celtic Park on the 21st of November. Breaking news. I did say that it was due to be announced any day. Celtic will now want to. Thank you for that, Michelle. That is breaking news. It's just coming in. That would probably be on the Celtic website also. Let me just jump on to the Celtic website just to get confirmation of that. Not that we don't believe a word that Michelle says on the channel. It isn't on the news, on the website. I take it it's on their social media. Or has it been announced to the stock exchange? Where are you getting that from, Michelle? Because I'm not seeing it anywhere. Let me just double check something. Picture of Sean Maloney. Yeah, it's been announced on the stock exchange. Celtic PLC confirms the annual general meeting will take place. Now, they do have to announce it to the stock exchange. There will be a part of the website that you will find this on. Notice of the AGM and posting of annual general report and accounts. Now that we know the date for the AGM, Friday the 21st of November, formal notice of the meeting will be issued to shareholders along with the company's annual reports and accounts on the company website. Now that they know that this is the date, Celtic will want to make sure that they have a new manager in before then. That's interesting. Anyway, let's jump into the comments and see what people are saying about that unbelievable press conference this afternoon with Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney. Martin O'Neill's just a temporary fix. Why would no board members? When Neil Lennon was brought back, it was a temporary fix. He was meant to only be here to the end of the season, but he was brought back as temporary, as interim manager. Sean Maloney will pick the team. Yeah, it looks like Sean Maloney will advise the manager. So we'll wait and see. For me, for one, Martin O'Neill never fails to make you smile. Yeah, never fails to make you smile, Martin. I'm ecstatic that he's back. I'm absolutely over the moon that this is the guy that's come into the steady of the ship. I think that no matter what you think of the majority owner, he's the only person within the club that would have the pulling power. I mean, if it was Lawwell that phoned him up, if it was Nicholson, he's going to go like, fuck off. He probably wouldn't even answer the phone. The fact that when your phone rings and it's Dermot Desmond that's calling, you answer that phone call and you're given 10 minutes, and I mean, he wouldn't even got off the phone from Dermot. He would have been told there and then, yeah, I'm coming up the road, I'm coming home. The fact that he's here, let's just enjoy it. Let's hope that we get the result tomorrow night. Make sure you join me at 8 p.m. tonight, because there's a game tomorrow. And we haven't even started to talk about the game tomorrow. Will there be any change? Yeah, there's already talk. I don't even want to talk about Brendan Rodgers. There's already chat about Brendan Rodgers talking to another team with his backroom staff. Afternoon to you, Stephen Johnson. That's the last that we mention Brendan Rodgers' name. And it's the last that we mention any of the backroom staff that walked with him. Their history. As far as I'm concerned, their history, and they're welcome to being part of the history. We move on. Mark Forum in with them. Yep. Maybe we'll score from a corner kick tomorrow, now that Martin O'Neill's back. Here's that. Let's talk about the game tomorrow. Tonight at 8 p.m. Celtic Park time. What a 24 hours it's been. Absolutely madness. Absolutely madness. Just crazy. It's brilliant.